welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and I am back after a week off of being sick. Thank you so much for your well wishes. I truly do appreciate them. So, we are diving into a new series, and that series is called the Boss Billionaire Series by Z.L. Arkadie, which we've done on this channel before. And we're going to dive into book one, which is called Tempting. We meet Jada Forte. She's 29 years old. She is currently on her way to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Now, the question would be, why in the world is she going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming? Well, she had a job in New York City working for a PR firm, and someone bought out the company and there were layoffs. And so for the past probably over 6 months, she's been living off of her savings because she was one of the people that they let go. So she's on her way to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, because she has found another job. Now, this job is for an executive assistant, and even though this is like position wise below what she was doing before, she still put in for it because, listen, after 6 months, you're not getting any bites. You'll take what you can get. Well, here's the thing. She got a call from someone named Spencer Blackstone. He offered her the job, but he needs her to relocate to Jackson Hole, Wyoming in 3 days. Now, at this point, she doesn't have too much money left in her account. She has about, I don't know, maybe $200. The job pays $10,000 a week with the minimum commitment of 6 months. So for her, she jumps at it, and I can totally understand why. So he states that there's some issues with some accounts, and all of her travel and everything they'll reimburse her for, but she's got to get herself out there. So she's got about $200 left. The ticket cost to get her to Salt Lake City $191. And so when she got to Salt Lake City, there were fires, so planes were grounded. Her flights kept getting canceled. And so now it's 2 days later than when she was supposed to be there. So she was supposed to be in Jackson Hole on Monday. It is now Wednesday. Now, she was going to call her mother, who's a congresswoman. Her name's Patricia Forte. But she knows her mom is just going to tell her to come back home, and that is not what she wants to do. And she knows if she tells her dad is just going to go and tell the mom. So again, it's going to be the same thing. So she decides to call Spencer Blackstone. Okay? He knows where she is. He goes, "You're in Salt Lake City." And he says, "Don't worry about it. Give me a moment." He hangs up. He calls her back. He tells her, "Your book's on the next flight. A driver will bring you to the ranch." Hangs up the phone. That's it. And she's thinking like, this like a little asshole, because he's being so short, just matter of factly, And she also thinks she might have been doing a little self-sabotage. Think about it. You were supposed to be there on Monday. You don't even call the employer until Wednesday. Here's another truth. She also was embarrassed because she didn't have any money to get on another plane. She had to take whatever connection it was that came with her original ticket. And she was kind of embarrassed to have to tell her employer, like, yeah, she needs the money. There's no way for her to do this. But so far I like it, okay? Because this is so different as far as we've had books where people come from major cities and go to small places. That's something we've done before on this channel. But I'm trying to figure out with her, Is is it just because she needs a job, or is she running from something as well? Like, I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. All right, so she's gotten to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. She's being driven to the ranch, and she's thinking back to a conversation that she had with her best friend Hope. Now, even though she signed an NDA, she still tells Hope because she kind of figured, I need to tell somebody what the hell I'm really doing, right? So her friend was like, well, let's look him up. So he's a nice looking guy from the photos she's seen. Hope tells her it seems like he's had a lot of different women on his arm over the past few years, but it looks like all these photos are from like 5 years ago. There's apparently a book about his family. She hasn't read it, our girl Jada. And the way Hope is talking to her, she's kind of like, I'm wondering if he's going to try and have, like, make you have sex. Like, if that's going to be part of your job description. You know what I mean? And she tells her, if that's the case, just cut your losses. It's not worth your self respect. And we find out our girl Jada, she's actually a virgin. So for her, she's not really concerned about that because she's not really interested in trying to give it up. And so for her, anybody trying is kind of like no hope. So it's just like whatever. So she pulls up to this chateau, or mansion is probably more what we'll call it, ranch. And she sees this tall figure, like a shadow of someone. She thinks it might be Spencer, but then the person like goes away, and then she sees this person with gray hair come out in this suit. And again, she doesn't know if she saw someone or if she's just tired. And I'm like, okay, so the adventures are about to begin. Also, she had a thought. She's one of those type of people that she doesn't really like to deal with stuff, which is why I'm wondering if there's something she's running from in New York City. She has this mindset of, I'll deal with the shit later. She doesn't really want to work it out. I'll just deal with it later. And she definitely is someone who jumps in head first. And she doesn't process things emotionally at that moment. She'll do the emotional stuff later. That's how she operates. So she's greeted by the house butler. His name is Felix. He's got an English accent. She definitely feels as if she's stepped into something much bigger than herself, and it's starting to freak her out. It makes her want to run. Definitely she's thinking, I need to go back to New York City. I need to go back where it's familiar. But it's like, nope, you can't do this. You've committed to this. This is where you are now. She decides, you know what, let me put my big girl panties on and let me just face this. So she's taking the tour. The guy Felix is taking her to where she has access to like the main areas, and then the suite on her wing, which is I think the third floor. Everything else is restricted. Of course, now she's wondering why are these other places restricted, but she's too tired to even ask. So she's trying to stay awake for this tour. She'll be able to pick out her meals. He showed her how that's gonna work. Showed her where her office will be, different things. And when she got back, when he showed her room, they had already put up her items. She got kind of nervous because she had brought a vibrator with her. So when, she asked the Felix guy, who put away my things? And he said, oh, one of like the chambermaid, one of the maids. We'll just say maids. Because when I think chambermaids, I think handmade, and then it's handmade tales. And it's like, no. So we'll just say maids. So dinner, he said, is going to be served at 7. She was tired. She wanted to just get in bed and go to sleep. So when he left out, that's what she did. She finally had tears come out of her eyes because she's been through a lot in the last couple days. And soon after, she fell asleep. Our girl wakes up 14 hours later or so. When she got there, it was like 1 in the afternoon. And when she woke up, it was after 3 in the morning. All of her stuff, she doesn't remember putting up her purse or anything like that. She just thrown the stuff down. but everything is all very neat and in place. And so she goes to her purse. She's got messages from her best friend Hope. And it's like, if you don't answer me within a certain amount of time, she's going to call the local police. So she shoots her a text message saying, hey, listen, I was tired. I went to sleep. I just woke up. The room is gorgeous. We'll talk later. She goes and takes a shower. Massive bathroom. Okay. She's got a smile on her face. I mean, because it's a beautiful room, beautiful bathroom. You know, the place is gorgeous. And she's thinking like a place like this in New York would be millions and millions of dollars. And she hears her mother's voice saying, yeah, but you're nothing but an assistant. And she tries to wipe that from her mind and just kind of be in the moment and grateful in the moment. So she winds up going downstairs to get some food because she's hungry. There's a note with that says about she can get if she needs anything cold to dial this number. There's a 4-digit code to dial. There's some sandwiches, cookies, assortment of teas and coffees. So she eats 2 sandwiches and some cookies. She's drinking her tea and she looks out. And even though it's dark, she can still see the silhouette of the mountains. This is a absolutely stunning, beautiful place. She cannot wait for the sunrise here so she can go out, and kind of explore a little bit. It's also very quiet. You got to think this is the complete opposite of New York City. She's used to loud, noise, chaotic, and here it's quiet. But probably here she needs it. She wants her to think, she's giving herself a little pep talk of, you can do this. This is going to work out. This is going to be a positive experience. She gets sleepy again, and so she heads back upstairs to her luxurious bed. When she wakes up in the morning, 2 of the women housemates come in, and they've pressed her laundry, hung it up. So she gets ready, she goes down for breakfast, and it's really quiet. So then Felix comes in and she shoots a message off to Hope saying, hey, I get off at 6 my time, 8 yours. I'll reach out to you then. Love you. Felix asks her, would you like for me to take you to your office? She's getting all excited because she's thinking, oh my gosh, she's about to meet Spencer Blackstone. And then she also thought, damn it, I should have read that book about his family. But for her, she had 3 days, to get prepared to leave. And she was like putting stuff in storage and all this type of crap. So there really wasn't any time. So anyway, her office is basically in the basement. There's no windows. It's a nice setup, but it's functional. But it's like there's no windows. It's kind of bleak. So when she asks Felix, well, when am I going to meet Mr. Blackstone? And Felix says, you're not. And she's like, what? He tells her, no, the instructions of what needs to be done are listed on your desk. That's how you do it. He leaves. She's a little perturbed because there was this anxiousness to meet this guy, right? And now it's like, I don't even get to meet him. So now her goal, of course, okay, get through these 6 months, get that money up, and she's going to go back to New York and find a job within her actual skill set. At the rate of what this is, $10,000 a week, I think it's like $250,000 or something like that, she should have in 6 months that she would have made. So she's, again, let's just get through it. There's a handwritten note with her list of duties, which basically, she's going to attend meetings in his place, take meticulous notes, give a wrap up of everything that, needs his immediate attention, all this type of stuff. And it says, and you'll tend to whatever my needs are, which makes her, of course, thinking about the sexual thing that, her girl Hope had said. And so she's just like, hopefully that's not what it is. She gets started. The dude has over 11,000 unread emails, and he clearly hasn't touched them in like over 7.5 months. So she's like, oh my gosh, something must have happened to him. I don't know. It sounds like he might be a little detached. Maybe he's depressed. Like, there is something. This is a financial company. It's an investment company. I think it's called TFC or something like that. Her parents, well, she knows her mom has money tied up with this company. Her portfolio is, well, some of it's with this company. She's tempted to look and see what exactly her mom has tucked away, but she decides no, her mom has her secrets, and let's just leave it at that. She doesn't really want to go digging, you know. So she's getting through the emails. Some of them are about payments that need to be issued, like different things. It's like urgent situations. There's multiple emails for just one issue because he clearly just abandoned what he had to do for his company. Oh my gosh. So she's working and working and working through these emails. She's making a good little leeway with this. And she doesn't uh, pull her head up until like 3 o'clock. And one of the maids comes in to give her ask her, if she if she likes something to eat. And she's like, oh my gosh, I just completely forgot. So they bring her up a lobster roll. She eats and works. Marta comes back and she's like, are you going to eat dinner? She looks, it's now after 9. So she's just been sucked in and she's been just killing it. So she saw some emails from someone, his sister, Bromwyn. It sounds like she's been in rehab. She's got a twin named Asher. The Bronwyn is concerned about Asher. She's also worried about Spencer. And she kind of seems to be a little bit of a liar. Like, there's something with these Blackstones people. There's something. So there's some things that need some approvals for some investments to go through. And it looks like the person who was over this, they had found a workaround getting these things done, which she thinks is kind of suspicious. But she's like, that's not my job. I'm just going to write up a report based on the facts, and that's it, and leave it alone. With her mother being a congresswoman, her mother like worships the world of wealth and power. Whereas Jada can't really stand it, you know, yet she's living inside of it, because this person clearly is super wealthy, upper echelon. And it's wild because it's like her mother craves what she almost detests. That's kind of wild. Jada's sitting at the huge table, having her dinner because she went down to the dining room, and she's having a hard time. She's feeling alone. She's very much missing her life back in New York. Tonight, for instance, is Thursday night. Thursday night is when she would have went out with her friends. They go to this place called the Red Bar, and a couple friends are flirt with guys. Another set of friends criticize guys until eventually they meet somebody they want to hook up with. And then there's just one guy in the group who's pining over one of the female friends, and she herself just likes to talk to new people, hear stories, and she just gets excited of being in the city, and she misses that. She feels really alone. And it's starting to get to the point where she's like, fuck it, I might just have to call my mom to get me out of here, because it's starting to depress her a little bit. Again, this is shows where she jumped head first into the job, right? And now this is a moment where there's silence, there's no one around. She's now got to process what's happening, and the emotional part is starting to catch up with her. So, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but I'm like, but girl, you ain't got no money. You don't want to ask your mom for help because you don't want to be, indebted to her. You don't want to get tied up in her world. So it's just like, this, you do what you got to do. So she was just thinking she might have to call her mom, and she was about to do it, and it kind of upset her because, remember, she had wanted to go and walk around after work, kind of really take in the place. And because she just kind of had her head down, she's been working all day, and she missed that opportunity. And now it's just dark and bleak. So you think about being in a dark office, and now you're in this, dark dining room to yourself. It's I can see how that's starting to get to her. And so she picks up her phone because she gets a call from Hope. And at this point, she's crying. And Hope is like, "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" And she tells her what's wrong. And she's like, "I haven't even met my boss. I just feel so alone." And Hope is like, "Okay, if you haven't met him, that is strange. But she also told her, "Can you really afford to give up $40,000 a month?" And she tells her, "No, I can't. Honestly, I'm flat broke." And Hope is like, "I know it's hard." She's like, "But you can get through this. And as she's talking, she hears a deep voice go, "I'm Spencer Blackstone." I said, "Oh, shoot." And when she looks up, the man is even more stunning than the photo she had seen online. And I was wondering when his little ass was gonna show up. Cause I was just kind of like, this is kind of like a virtual job. Why did she need to move out here? To be honest, she could have did this job from New York if he's not gonna deal with her. But he has arrived. She gets off the phone with Hope. Of course, Hope is like, "You better call me back and tell me everything about this encounter." He asks her if she was enjoying her meal. She says yes. He says, "You're Patricia Forte's daughter." That puts her on guard, because if he tells her that's the reason why she's hired, she's going to quit right now, because she does not want, some type of favor to be owed to her mother. She doesn't want to be used as any type of pawn in anything. So, she hasn't told her mother that she lost her job. So she is kind of like, she knew if she told her mom would have went to one of her donors or one of her high society friends to get her a job. And again, she would have been indebted to her mother. So she says to him, "Is that why you hired me?" He says, "Partly. He said, "I also hired you because your resume was great. And I figured, being who your mother is, you understand certain things about growing up in the public eye." So then he says, "I heard you say you wanted to leave." And she said, "Oh, you heard that?" And he was like, "Is there someone waiting for you back in New York?" And she was thinking, like, he's thinking she has like a man or something. And she goes, "There's no boyfriend. I just miss my friends." He said, "Oh." And he's looking at her. He looks really tired. That's wild, to be looking beautiful and tired at the same time. That's wild. He says, "Oh, okay. Like, how is that possible? And so she's looking at him. He looks like he hasn't slept in days. And it's this weird but intense look he's given her. And so after she said the thing about no boyfriend, he says there was another thing he had said about I'm sorry. She had mentioned to him about the formality thing. Like, she would prefer if they just called her Jada, not Miss Forte. He tells her Felix is not going to do that. Felix only does formal. He was like, "But I can tell, the other maids and stuff, like, to just call you Jada if that's what you prefer. You have to understand, these people come from some of the most exclusive households in the world, and their pay reflects that. And she's like, "Well, I'm an employee too." He's like, "No, you're not. You're a guest. You're on contract." And she's like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "Yes, you are." He's like, "This isn't a permanent position." It's a 6 months is what the agreement was for. So because of that, you're considered a guest in this house. So she was just like, okay. And he made a comment about how stunning she was. Like he couldn't believe she didn't have someone waiting for her as stunning as she and gorgeous as she looks. And he looked genuinely confused as he was saying this to her. So he asks her one more question before he leaves out. And he's asked her if she had read the book about his family. And she said no. And he said, I would prefer if you didn't. And he left really abruptly. And so she decided, okay, I think I need to read this. Because even though he said, I would prefer you not to, she's intrigued because, first of all, she feels a little discombobulated, talking to him. And now she wants to know more. She wants some answers. He also asked her if she liked the room. I meant to say that too. And she, of course, was like, it's wonderful, because he told her, if you're not comfortable, we can change it, And she's like, no, 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 it's wonderful. So she wakes up the next morning, 7:30. She set her alarm. She didn't buy the book because it was $14.99. And when she checked her bank account, she had an automatic credit card payment that came out. And so now she's in the red, $263. So she's thinking like, this is great. I'm so pathetic. I can't even buy this book. So she thought about asking for an advance, but then she was like, no, I don't want to do that. But the crazy thing is, she doesn't just want to ask him for an advance. She would also like to ask him to take her virginity. But she's like, no, I'm not going to ask him to do either, because she was like wet after that, just seeing him in that little conversation in the dining room. He had her. So she calls her girl Hope. They have a chit chat. She tells Hope what happened. Hope tells her, okay, you say he's acting strange. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I know you've never told me this, but I have kind of figured out that you're a virgin. And she says, he's not the person that I think you would want to lose your virginity to. Basically, he's a male whore, okay? And she tells her, if he's acting weird and you decide to do something with him, like, don't do that. She's like, if you decide to do something when he stops acting weird. And make sure he uses a condom. So she does admit she's kind of crushing on him because she saw him last night, panties all wet. So she does admit this to her friend. And there was an excitement she felt. And the friend knew it, because the friend knows she doesn't get worked up about stuff. She really doesn't. And so the friend could hear that interest, even though she wasn't saying it at first. The friend Hope could still hear it. We find out Hope is a public defender, so it's her job to figure what you're not saying. It's her job to figure that shit out, So she's gonna call Hope later, and now she's thinking about, what am I going to wear today? You gotta think. Now she's kind of thinking Spencer might pop up. So she's like, you know what? I'm gonna put on the pencil skirt and this really nice sweater. But then she was like, what are you doing? You're just here to work. So she winds up putting on some regular slacks, but she keeps the sweater on. Goes downstairs, eats her omelet, looks at the news. Her mom's got some stuff going on in DC. Her mom, again, the type, she likes to have a soundbite, loves to be the center of attention. She just loves it. She loves being in the middle of chaos. That's just who her mom is. Long and behold, he appears again. Spencer Blackstone. He still has on the same cargo shorts from last night, but now he's changed. He now has on like a longer sleeve sweater this morning. He asked her, how did she sleep? She said, well. He's like, okay. He told her she did a really good job on her work from the previous day. He's like, "You're really good at this." And she said, "Well, thank you." And then he left. And she felt like whiplash. So then she gets an alert on her phone. A deposit's been made for $14,000 from someone named Peter Sykes. And it says it's in advance, and it's also a little extra. It's the extra $4,000 is for her having to come out here so quickly and all of the difficulties that she experienced coming out. So she's wondering, like, did he hear her talk about how broke she was? So she's like, what the heck, But now she damn sure is going to purchase that book. So she's working through the emails, and she's got to sit in for him for some meetings because he's not going to do it. And she's speaking with one of the guys, and he was kind of rude to her at first. Whole power play type of bullshit. And then she remembered what her mom taught her, how to deal with these type of people, and she let them all know, moving forward, video conference calls, send me all that information so that I can log in. I'm going to be sitting in for Mr. Blackstone. And she sits in on all the meetings. She doesn't get done until like 10 o'clock that night with everything. And so she takes a post-it note, and on the pile that's going to go to him, she puts, "Are you going to avoid me forever?" And she's thinking, what the hell did I just do? But then she's like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's see what he's going to say. Next morning, she goes in, and her note has been answered with another sticky post-it note. And it says, "It's been duly noted." Hold on, let me say it correctly. "Your angst has been duly noted." And she's like, what the hell? So then she gets through the day. Next couple of days, go by, each day and night. There's like these notes. And she responds back saying, people are missing you, blah, blah, blah. The guy that was giving her kind of an attitude, he's not doing that anymore. He's just happy because now there's somebody getting the ball rolling again. And so he's straight. So now it's Friday. There's a note that says, "You'll see me soon." And it says for her not to turn on her computer, take the day off. He's going to handle all the meetings today. And she's like, okay. So she, the weekends are her own anyway. So now she's got a 3-day weekend. And so she is going to take advantage of it. We then switch to Spencer Blackstone's POV. I did not think we were going to get his POV because we're like almost halfway through the book. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So this is the first time I think it's done it so late in a book. Normally you kind of know off rip, like, okay, it's going to be switching back and forth. But honey, we're getting his POV. So he is sitting in a therapy session with his therapist, whose name is Mita. Now, Mita is very attractive, but she has the ability to really see him, and she's really helped him a lot. And so he's talking to her about if he should keep Jada on. And he tells her about the post-it notes flirting that's been going on. And we get a little info now. So he admits he is attracted to Jada. He admits that her first night here, he watched her the whole night sleep. Now that's kind of creepy. Okay. Now he feels like Jada's a good person. He's very drawn to her. He's sexually attracted to her, which he hasn't been attracted to someone in a really long time. We find out that he has a reputation. He knows that reputation exists, him as a playboy, but it was actually a crafted, something he crafted. He apparently doesn't really like having sex most of the time. He says he was forcing his way through it with women, and he would do something to make them go away. Apparently, his method would be to stalk a woman, get her to fall hard for him, and then he would have her perform masochism and then dump her. I'm like, okay. And then I had to look up, of course, because you know you have sadists and I can remember, but masochism is the enjoyment of experiencing physical pain, humiliation, or emotional suffering for sexual gratification. So it's the opposite of sadists. Because sadists, I know, because we've had books about them, they derive pleasure from inflicting pain on others, but he likes to do it on himself. Okay, yeah, he sum up with him. Um, so he sounds like he had a really fucked up childhood. His mother that he thought was his mother winds up wasn't his mother, and the father apparently taught him some horrible ways. He's got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, you got to think, you stalking people, watching people, spying. Yeah, he got some issues. So the therapy basically wants him to know, like, you are deserving of love. You're not a horrible person. This is healthy that you're able to understand what you're feeling, X, Y, and Z. So he doesn't tell the therapist why he moved to Jackson Hole. He tells, when she asks why, he says, I can't tell you. So I'm like, that's going to be really interesting to find out, because he's got secrets, honey. So this is exciting. Sometimes, in these books they'll have like a secret. I feel like this is going to be some layered secrets. So as he's walking the therapist out, he meets eyes with our girl Jada. We switch back to Jada's POV, and she freaks out because she sees him with this stunning, beautiful woman, and she automatically thinks that has got to be this girlfriend. And she starts thinking, how the hell could I have ever thought this man was flirting with me? He couldn't be. She's in a robe because she's been in the spa area. So she dashes away to her room, gets to takes the elevator, and she's standing like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? But she's talking out loud. And she's like, I've got to get a grip. There's a knock on the door. It's the servers. And they're like, where would you like us? Where would you like to eat your lunch? And she says, oh, I'll just, eat in here. And she notices they're setting up space for two. She's like, oh, no, 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 no. It's just me. And she hears Spencer's voice says, I'll be joining you. Girl is about to have a freak out, and I can understand. So he comes in the room. She's like thinking to herself, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So they're eating, and he starts asking her different questions. She asked him about his girlfriend, and he's looking at her like, what girlfriend? She's like, the beautiful woman you were with earlier. And he goes, oh, that's Mita. And the way he said it, it was like something like nothing. And so she was like, he said, she was here on business. And she goes, what kind of business? He doesn't answer. And so she goes, what, sex? He doesn't answer. He then says, have you ever had sex before? She changes the subject. And then he asked her how long her parents had been married. She told him 31 years. He wanted to know if she would ever go into politics. And she says, probably not. He wanted to know if she shared her mom's politics. She said, sometimes, and sometimes I don't. And then he asked her, are you really a virgin? And I'm like, okay, clearly this dude has been listening. There's listening devices in here. There's gotta be. Or he's tracking her cell phone or something. Because these are things she said directly to Hope, or she said to herself when she thought she was by herself. But anyway, he tells her, because, oh, wait a minute. She doesn't answer when he says, are you a virgin? She says, she like takes his question and she flips it on him, and she says, have you ever had sex? And he says, well, it depends on, how you would describe sex. So then he tells her to stand up. She does. He holds her, and she can feel how hard his dick is. And he tells her, no woman has gotten me like this in a very long time. And he was like, if I had have known I was going to be so attracted to you, I wouldn't have hired you. And then he leaves. Just left her there. And so she's absolutely spent. I mean, He's giving her whiplash. I mean, seriously. These conversations, they just end so abruptly. It's like, what? And she's stuck. Like, what the hell just happened? Poor girl. So, anyway, she is now purchased the book. She's ready to jump into it because now she needs to know about this family. So, the book was written by a woman named Holly, and she's reading through the history, and they go back like they came over to the Americas with some money around like the 1800s, and there's so many marriages. His father Spencer married this woman named, well, let me say it correctly, she wasn't a woman. Amelia was 12. This motherfucker was pushing 50. So we already know this some bullshit, okay, when we starting out like this. Amelia wasn't very loving. It seems he always wanted that type of love that the older brother Jasper used to catch a lot from the father. But Jasper also caught a lot of hell from the dad too. I think the father's name is Randolph. And I'm like, well, hell, no wonder. How could Amelia be probably loving when she was 12? I mean, shit. Anyway, after Spencer went off to school, when he came back, his mother was more loving towards him. And that's where she leaves off because she's been drinking wine and she had some food, but she's just a little tipsy. And so she's going to go look through the house to see if she could find his room. But then she started wobbling by the time she got to her door. So she knew she just needed to shut the lights off and take her ass to sleep. So she's awakened by someone saying her name, Jada. Jada. And so she realizes this is not a dream. Someone's in her room. So she sits up and it's Spencer. And he's like, it's me. And she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I couldn't sleep without. And she's like, what? He doesn't have on a shirt. He just got on some bottoms. And he kisses her. He asked her after the kiss, he winds up fingering her. And he asked her if he could have her tonight. And he was like, you're a virgin, aren't you? This will be your first time. And she admitted it. She said, yes. And he said again, can I have you? She shakes her head yes, but he says, no, I need you to say yes or no. So she says yes. So he leaves out, comes back in, and he's got her vibrator. And so he fingers her, makes her come, uses the vibrator, makes her come a few times. It's very intense, very intense. They fuck. He tells her he wants to make it pleasurable for her and all this type of stuff. And, oh, he said that before he fucked her. That was backwards. And then they both come and he cries out to the Almighty. So it was a wonderful experience. She's thinking in her head, oh my God, I'm not a virgin anymore. I'm not a virgin anymore. He's still inside of her. So he pulls out, goes to the bathroom, gets a warm towel, wipes her off. When he came back in that first time, he had a condom on. He had put it on when he came out of the bathroom the first. So he asked her, how was your first time? And she said, perfect. And he said the same for me. And then he said, he told her he was clean. He's like, I've been, tested and everything. I'm clean. And he's like, you're not on the pill, are you? And she's like, no, had anticipated on losing my virginity in Wyoming. He's like, I get it. He's like, I'll be careful with you. He tells her to lay back. He wants to play with her titties. And so he starts doing so, rubbing them and pinching them and then licking them. And when she started talking, he says, no talking, But she can moan. He's okay with that. Then he starts kissing her and he says, I don't know what you're doing to me. And then he abruptly stops and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, you should get some rest. And she saw something shift with him. She doesn't know what it was. And she's like, I want you to stay. And he was like, get a good rest. And he left. And she's just sitting there again, mind fucked, whiplashed. She's just like, what the hell? So our girl is having a dream. And in the dream, she's like running behind Spencer towards the lake. And then when she gets there, he's kissing her. No, I'm lying. He's kissing Mita. And he's telling Mita like that he never did anything with Jada. And then all of a sudden they're back in her office and he's telling her, you and me were just a fuck thing. It didn't mean anything. He throws $100 bills at her and says, this is all you want. This is your salary. And she wakes up. And Spencer is sitting there watching her. And we find out girl's been asleep for like a day and a half. And he had, they checked her temperature and stuff because they were kind of worried about her to make sure she wasn't sick. But she really was just fucking exhausted. So it's now Sunday. And she says to him, you know, did we do it? And he goes, if you're asking that question, I must have didn't do a good job. And for her, it wasn't that. She's like, no, it's just everything just seems really surreal to her right now. So then he tells her, I'll have the maids come up and change the sheets while while you have brunch. She asks if he was going to join her. And he says, not for brunch. And he leaves. And that's it. Again, whiplash. Like, it just doesn't stop. And so, they had to change the sheets because, Cherry had been popped. So she goes to take a shower. And while she's in there, he sneaks in and says, I couldn't stay away. And so they start kissing. And they have a nice hard fuck. And then afterwards, he tells her, he goes and gets a towel so he can put it under his knees. It's a huge shower. And he's like, I want to watch your face while I eat your pussy. And so that's what he does. And he makes her come over and over again. And then he starts sucking on her titties. And then he starts pinching them. And then he bites them. And he starts to get rough. And she screams out in pain. And he stops. And she's like, you don't have to stop. And he's like, no, I have to stop. She was like, it's okay. I know you didn't mean to. And he was like, no, I have to stop. And she, of course, wanted to talk about it. But he was like, finish your shower. And he left. So she, realizes something happened. Something that wasn't really healthy. Terrified her a little. But she already feels herself kind of going under with him. She already feels that. So I'm like, this is going to be fucking wild. But doesn't that kind of sound like a sadist then? Because if he's making her, if he's inflicting pain on her, not himself, that's on her. So he sounds more so like that. I don't know. She goes and eats her brunch and she's reading the book. The book is twisted, okay? It seems the twins, Asher and Bronwyn, I guess their mom is Amelia. She didn't like the Asher boy because she kind of felt like she couldn't gauge where his loyalty lied. Bronwyn was kind of like, she could be civil with her mother, but she was like this bully in school, used to pick fights, used to do all kind of stuff, and it seemed like she was doing it to kind of appease her mother. Jasper, the oldest, he started noticing the father could care less about Bronwyn until she reached puberty. And then he got interested in her. He would watch her getting dressed, just all kind of nasty shit. It was weird. It was fucked up. And Jasper almost killed the father one time for like looking at Bronwyn and whatever bullshit was going on. And as he was like about to kill him, this other young girl comes out of the closet naked, and Jasper told him, if you touch any other underage girls, like basically I'ma kill you. So she's been reading now for 4 hours straight. Marta comes in, are you ready for dinner? She's like, I'll take it in my room. And when she goes back up, she makes a phone call. She feels like she should have, feel thankful for the parents she does have. It's not the greatest relationship, but she feels like it's nothing like the bullshit, this family has. You know what I mean? And so she decides she's going to call her mother. The first thing the mother says is, where are you? She doesn't tell her mother where she is. And her mother's like, you didn't tell me you lost your job in January. What's going on? So she tells her mom, I'm looking for a job. Her mom's like, why was there, you're lying. Why was there a huge deposit? And she goes, how do you know what goes on in my bank account? And her mom's like, I'm the one that set up the bank account. So she still has access. So now Jada's like, oh, first thing tomorrow, she gonna change that shit, you know? She then tells her mom she's in Montana, which is a lie because we know she's in Wyoming. She says she's working as an assistant. Her mother, of course, is like, an assistant, you know. How could you? That's so beneath you. And the mother lives in California. Well, that's where I think they technically live, but you know, she's in DC most of the time. And again, she's either a representative, congresswoman, something like that. And so her mom is like, what kind of assistant are you that you're making that kind of money? And she's like, what are you insinuating? And she's like, well, I'm just trying to see what's going on. And so she goes, you know what? I just called to let you know I'm fine. I'll reach back out at another time. And she hangs up the phone. Now, her mother, her calls go right to voicemail. That's the only way she can deal with her mom. Twice a month she can call her. That's it. She knows her mom is going to call, is going to try and have her father call her and try and smooth things over, but he sucks as a middleman, you know. She goes back to reading. And so she's got to the part where Spencer's come back from college, Ivy League, and it sounds like he was fucking with Amelia. But it also sounds like Amelia might not have been Amelia. Her real name might have been Doris. It's like, what the hell is really going on? And she's like, what the hell have I gotten myself into? She's thinking back to the behavior in the shower. Like, this must have been some type of learned behavior. Like, what the hell? The following week, bunch of meetings, and she gets through them, and she notices one woman is like staring at her the whole meeting. And then when everyone had left out, the woman stayed on, and she's like, I need to talk to you in private. And so she says, okay. And the woman tells her, he's going to eat you up and spit you out alive. And Jada's like, excuse me? And the woman says, I used to sleep with him. He likes it rough. He's going to get you hooked, and then he's going to disappear on you. And so she says to the woman, I'm going to pretend you didn't just say that to me. And the woman says, then you're not as smart as I thought. I think the woman's name was like Carol Ludwig or something like that. And the woman just X's out of the meeting. Now, of course, she's curious, and she's wondering, you know, you got to think about, she's reading this book, she's getting this information, and again, how many secrets are there? And she also knows from reading this book that there's tunnels, that there's secret passageways. And she's like, I'm going to take one of these and figure out where it leads to. So she goes through one of these, I think one she found by her mirror or something. She found an opening, and it's like concrete, it's cold. She smells something burning as she keeps walking, and winds up getting to where Spencer is. He's got this jackhammer and a protective shield on his face, and she is looking like, what the hell is he doing? He sees her, and he's like, what are you doing here? And she tries to turn, and he's like, are you going to run away from me? And then he kisses her with all this passion. And then he tears away from her. He's like, how did you find this? This place, this isn't just a stumble upon place. She admits that she read the book and lets him know, you know, that's how she figured out there were these secret pathways. And he says, I told you not to read it. She says, no, you told me you'd prefer if I didn't. They kiss again, but then she hears him say something through all the frenzy, which is like, you need to pack up and leave and go home. And so her phone drops, but she just runs back the way she came and gets back to her room, cries like crazy, and passed out. And when she woke up, she's thinking, okay, she's just waiting for someone to come and get her, let her know your car's outside. But no one comes but Marta. And Marta just came to ask basically where she was going to, what she wanted for dinner and where she was going to have it. Her cell phone is on the table in her room. Now, she had dropped her cell phone, so she knows he's been in here. And while she was sleeping. So she's hoping he'll come down for dinner so they can talk about what the hell he was really doing. Oh my gosh, all the secrets. Just secrets, secrets, secrets. Next day, she goes down, she works, and she calls Hope. And I want to say probably that night, it was Thursday. And they talk, and she tells her what happened with Spencer. And she just kind of told her all the good stuff. And of course, Hope is telling her, don't get attached. Don't do it, girl. You know? Now, Hope does also tell her, even if you do fall for him and you wind up doing it again, don't beat yourself up, you know? She's like, you got to understand during sex, it was really neat how she said it. She said, how he treats you during sex isn't real. How he treats you outside of sex, that's what's real. And that's what you have to focus on. And so Jada says, that's what I'll do. But here's the thing. I don't know. I don't trust that she can do it. I'm just being honest because she already feels like she's falling for this person. So I'm like, girl, you can't handle that. So anyway, when she's working, I think one of the guys' name, I think is Dylan. He's one of the investment people. He's needing something to be signed off on. He's being flirty with her. He wanted to know where she was, but she's not supposed to say where she is. And the guy was like, well, I can fly you anywhere in the world, X, Y, and Z. And she's like, no. And so then he says, oh, he got to you first. And then the guy kind of turned mean. And now he's doing all, well, I need approvals by tomorrow, pronto, all this type of stuff. So she starts digging into this proposal that he submitted. And this guy's stuff might not be legit. It looks like this guy's tied into her mom's accounts. It also looks like he's getting money for stuff, but then the projects that they're supposed to fund, they're not funding. So it's feeling very Ponzi scheming. Okay? So she's going to do a little bit more digging into this. She hasn't seen Spencer in a couple days. And so when she went to go check behind the mirror, the place where she opened up before, it's sealed. This hurts her because it's like he's sealing himself off away from her. She does get her work done, and she decides to go to the sunroom, relax a little bit, because she's all caught up. And she had a Post-it note for him, and he had sent one that said, good job, see you soon. And when she goes to the sunroom, as she's walking there, she sees Spencer with Mita. We get another Spencer's POV. He's in session with Dr. Mita, and he tells her all the bullshit. He doesn't hold anything back. He tells her he's looking for something in that house. He doesn't tell her what it is. He tells her he hasn't been sleeping well because he's been working on whatever it is that he's trying to find out. He tells her that about the bullshit that happened in the shower with Jada. He says, I don't get off on pain. He says, but I still did that to her, And he's like, I don't need it to get hard. He's like, because I get hard just by touching her. Just her warmth gets me hard. but it's like I reverted back to the roughness. And what he expected for Jada to do was to tell him how sick and twisted he was and spit on him and tell him to go away, but she didn't do that. So I guess that's the masochism is he did that to her to make her push him away. Okay, okay, I get that. And he's like, but she didn't, you know? And so Mita says, you need to communicate with her. We also find out that he knew Amelia wasn't his mother because Amelia had told him at a young age that she wasn't his mother, but told him to keep it a secret. So now I'm wondering, like, well, where the hell and who the hell did he come from? Another young girl? Like, what the hell? This is crazy. So he told the doctor he wants a normal type of relationship. He doesn't want a dysfunctional one. Um, he admits to having the issues of wanting to get his father's approval, feeling resentment towards Jasper because he felt like Jasper got it, not fully realizing the hell that Jasper was catching, you know? So he got a lot of issues. So then we switch back to Jada. He goes into her. Jada's nervous and he tells her, we need to talk. He tells her about knowing that, Amelia, that he knew since he was like, I don't know, somewhere around 10 to 13. He knew that Amelia wasn't his mother. And the only person that knows that he knows this and or knew it that soon, because this isn't in the book, because in the book it doesn't go into this because this was written from someone else's perspective. But Mita is the only other person he's ever told that, of how he knew so far back that Amelia wasn't his mother. And what happened was when he came back from college, he had gotten into trouble fighting or something, and Amelia was the one that came and got him. And on the way back home, she pulled over and she starts saying like all this really degrading shit to him and hits him. And then in reflex, he hits her back. And so she starts saying all these hurtful, dark things to him. He hits her again, and it's turning her on, and it winds up being this type of fuck thing. So they did it for like a month, and then Amelia was like, she doesn't want to do it anymore. And so one of his father's women, she aged out of what he likes. She was now, I guess, an adult. And so Spencer started fucking with that woman and kind of used her, I guess, like kind of like a prostitute, because she would let him do all that type of stuff. Like he could fight her and then he could fuck her, and he could keep that cycle going. So this explains why he doesn't really like sex and why he equated it the way he did, because his first experiences with sex weren't good, like necessarily good ones. It wasn't something that was really pleasurable. It was like this pain thing of hurting someone. And she wanted to cry for him hearing this experience. And they wind up, having a nice little fuck. And while they're fucking, he, of course, is like, I can feel you and all this type of stuff. And I guess previously with other partners, there was like this detachment. So when he has sex with Jada, he feels it even more. He really feels it. And so he says that to her. He eats her pussy and all this type of stuff. Then afterwards, he has some snacks brought up, and he winds up eating her pussy again, I think. Oh my god, dang. So he tells her, that what Amelia winds up saying to him was, he actually mentioned this earlier, but I forgot. But he had told her, Amelia, when she told him, she said, I don't want you to grow up to be like your father. He's an awful person, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, the man was awful, but then the bullshit she pulled on him was crazy. But then, hell, you gotta think, she got taken at 12 doing adult shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. So, after they're eating their snacks, they do have some more conversation. He asked her, why was she in the hallway like that day, you know, she came looking for him. And she answered honestly. She said, I was looking for you. And she asked him, what were you doing? And he says, I can't tell you right now, but eventually I will be able to tell you everything. From what she saw, he was drilling. So it doesn't look like he was like hiding any bodies or anything. Because she was like, you didn't kill nobody, did you? And he's like, no. You know, he didn't fully answer it, but he was just kind of like, laughing because he thought it was kind of ludicrous. So then she tells him Carol Ludwig told him what the woman had said in warning her. And he was like, Carol? He's like, I don't know who that is, you know? And she was just kind of, she's like, well, she warned me against you, said you all used to mess around and blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, I don't know who that is. Now, Reese, I know who that is. And he says, I don't get involved with employees. So this woman has to be mistaken. I'm wondering if this is somebody he used to fuck with, right? Maybe she came and joined the company to maybe try and get back closer to him or something. I don't know. Or he could just be lying. It's always an option. So then after that, she was like, we kind of need to talk because I'm only here for 6 months and then I leave. I go back to New York City. And he's like, I don't want you to leave. And she made the whole comment about, how much he was paying her and the sex and not wanting the sex to become part of. She's like, is that going to become part of my duties? And he's like, I don't know. I kind of like that. But he did tell her he didn't want her to leave. Um, and they had sex a bunch of times. They fell asleep. And she was laying on top of him. And when she woke up, he was still inside of her. And so they wind up doing it again when they wake up. So she's like, okay, now it's 6 o'clock. I gotta get up. He's like, but it's not even time for you to work yet. She's like, yeah, but your start time doesn't take into account the time zones, you know? So she gets up earlier so she can get more done in the day. And so they wind up fucking again. And he does the whole comment again about I can feel you and all this type of stuff. And he had also said to her, I didn't expect you to be so thorough with the job, you know? So it's been like a nice surprise for him as well, work wise, because he really didn't expect her to be as thorough. But I'm like, well, if you saw her application, she was really great. You should have known she was going to be thorough. Shoot. She's getting ready to get up and go, and he's like, no, stay in. He's like, oh, I'll handle the meetings this morning. She's like, what? He's like, yeah, you rest. I want to spend the day with you. We'll have breakfast in a few hours. I'll handle the meetings. And she feels some type of way because it's like she wants to earn her keep, right? She doesn't want to earn money by it being the oldest profession in the world. You know what I mean? But at the same time, she's thinking, okay, this will actually be nice because if he handles the meetings, he can hand out those permissions that need to be done then, which should make her life a lot easier when she comes in the next day to work. And I'm also thinking his ass want to see who the hell Carol Ludwig is. So she wakes up to her name being called out by Spencer. He's sitting in the bed with her with the laptop. It's after 3, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I must have been tired." He's like, sex can be draining. And then they had, because they had done it a lot. And he's like, okay, he's like, he was ready to have sex again. She was like, let me take a shower, but he was ready to fuck again. Then she asked him, you know, where's your room? He says, I don't have a room. She's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. So they're going at it. They're in, they fuck again. And he tells her, I'm going to move into your room. And she's like, okay, because for her, it's like, oh, I get more time with him. So while they're fucking, some blonde woman opens the door and goes, oh my, Spencer, I guess things have changed. And Jada's looking like, what the hell? And I'm like, who the hell is this? So the visitor is Bronwyn, aka Bryn, which is what she prefers to go by. But I don't know, I kind of like Bronwyn. I'll probably just call her that. So anyway, our girl Jada goes down. Spencer's already at the table with Bronwyn, and he's being all lovey-dovey towards Jada. And the first time she's seen him, like, all this time she's been seeing him in cargo shorts and stuff, but he looks nicer. He doesn't have on a suit, but he's got on slacks, and he looks really good. And she's thinking like, oh my God, like, this man is mine. Like, this is just insane. Well, anyway, she sits down, and he's been all lovey-dovey, touching her hands and shit. Bronwyn is like, I don't buy all this hippie shit. What's going on? And she makes a comment and says she looks like Holly. So we find out Holly is the one who wrote the book. Holly is also, which we knew that earlier, but Holly is also the wife of Jasper, the oldest brother. So now I'm wondering, okay, this sounds again like, what is it? He always wanted Jasper's spot. He found someone similar to Jasper's wife. Is that why he's into Jada? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm really trying to figure this out, you know? So she makes a comment, the girl, Bronwyn, something from a movie that Jada picks up on. I think the name of the movie was The Way We Were. It was a line from there. And Jada's kind of like, yeah, I know who that is. You know what I mean? Like, I hope you're not kind of comparing me to this certain character. And so then we also find out, because Bronwyn tells it, the reason Bronwyn was able to find where, because remember, she had been sending emails as well. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. There were emails from her. I think I did in the beginning. I think I did. She'd been sending emails, trying to find where Spencer was. And so she was able to find out where he was because Jada's mom, Patricia, reached out to Bronwyn when she had Jada's phone pinged from the phone call. So that's kind of crazy. And Bronwyn makes a statement that makes a lot of sense. She says, I guess your mom's really overprotective. And Jada's like, yeah, she can be. And Bronwyn says, there's a reason behind that. And I'm like, yeah, because you want to be controlling for a reason. The fact that she checking this girl bank account, the fact that she, pinged her fucking phone, what's really going on? But also, if she got access to her bank account, then bitch, you also saw where her money was running low and you didn't try and do nothing. But once you see money coming in, now you want to, I don't know. That mom seems kind of suspect to me too. But yeah. Bronwyn also asked the question if she had other siblings. And then when Jada was like, no, she's only child, Bronwyn looked kind of like, really? So it's some shit going on for sure. We also find out, Bronwyn apparently claims she's working on herself. She says basically most of her life she's been a cunt. She's trying to change that. And the way she does things, though, it just kind of feels as if she's not really changed. She just found a new way to do it. So she doesn't seem as bad, but she's still doing shit, you know? Bronwyn is also two things. She asked Spencer if he would come to the family manor for Christmas. He told her, no, I'll never go back there again. She's like, but you're here. And he's like, I have a purpose here. And she's like, well, what is it? He won't tell her. He tells Bronwyn he's going to be spending Christmas with Jada and her family. Jada, of course, looks surprised. I'm like, oh, Lord. The food comes, and also she's trying to find out where Asher is, her twin, because apparently he's spiraling, and when he spirals, it's a lot. The oldest brother, Jasper, and his wife, Holly, they had a baby named Jane not too long ago. Spencer still hasn't even met the child. I don't even know how old the child is, but either way, this is all a mess. And our girl Jada is listening to all of this, and she's doing a little mini spiral inside as well. You know, there is a lot going on. So Braun was like, well, I'm leaving. And she says, you can answer my emails from now on. But she looks at Jada because I think she realizes Jada's the one that's been doing it anyway. Also, earlier, when she had first sat down and stuff and he was all holding her hand and shit, Bronwyn also made the comment, what exactly is going on with you two? And he said, we're working together. I'm like, dude, you sitting up here holding her hand and rubbing it and shit. Like, come on. You know? Again, I don't know. Is he really feeling this girl? Or is there some type of credence to what Bronwyn was saying? Like, you went and got your own Holly. I don't know. Afterwards, they go in the room and they watch TV, and she tells him how she felt about her sister's visit, not really liking it. And he tells her, she didn't really mean anything. She didn't mean any harm, blah, blah, blah. He tells her he thought she kind of seemed to like her at first because apparently people that aren't like Bronwyn normally are very drawn to her because she's like, how does he describe it? She's the complete opposite of like normal people, you know? And so he describes her as, he says, normal people normally like her because she is the antithesis of everyone else. Everyone else is more probably controlled, whereas she's the complete opposite. So a lot of women are normally drawn to her because she's their polar opposite, right? And to her, she didn't seem that way. I think it was working on her at first, but I think once she hit that sore spot, it kind of started making her pull back and make her a little bit more, guard up. So they watch some nature shows, fall asleep, and then when they wake up, he wakes her up and he's like, all right, I got to get back to it again. And he's not telling her what he's doing. She's trying to seduce him to keep him there, and he's like, I got to go. So he leaves out the little secret passageway by the mirror, but when she goes to it, it's locked. So he must got a key for it or something. But I'm sure as hell curious as to what the hell he is doing. We fast forward 14 days and we switch to Spencer's POV. So he is back at it with the drill in the wall, and we find out why the hell he's doing this. So when he was about 13, right after the time Amelia had told him, she wasn't his mother, he had overheard a conversation between his father and a guy named Arthur. And the guy Arthur was like, what did you do with the bodies? And Randolph said they'll never find them. And Arthur was like, but what did you do, goddammit? Like, what did you do with them? And he says they're at the ranch. They're built into the foundation. They'll never find them. One of the bodies he says is one of the kids' mothers, and the other someone named Petrov. I don't know who the hell Petrov is, but he remembers this conversation. And so he bought this ranch. It wasn't for sale. He paid the owner 4 times what it was worth. He got a excavation team uh, to go over it. Um, he had gotten the secret blueprints. That's how he knows about all the tunnels and everything. He's got to memorize. And no one has been able to find anything. He had paid everyone in cash, made them sign off NDAs and sent them on their way. And he's been here by himself doing it, drilling. This is the last space left. So if there's nothing here, then that means he heard it all wrong all those years ago, which I think has been about 20 years ago. So that makes him about, 43-ish? So he's drilling and drilling, feels like he's about to pass out, all this gray, and then he sees white. And he's hit it. He sees bone. And he stops and he's like, oh my gosh, damn it. He had hoped that he had heard it wrong, but clearly he didn't. There are bodies in the fucking wall, and that's how it ends. So the next book in the series is called Impulse. So we will dive into that next week. What did you all think? I absolutely loved it. I think they gave a really good mixture. We didn't need every chapter to go back and forth. Like sometimes it's necessary in books. I didn't feel like it was necessary in this one. I felt like when we got it built up so much from our girl Jada, then we got something from him, and it worked out. And he kind of went through everything, so it wasn't like you were kind of missing anything. So I like that because again, I love a good point of view from multiple people. I like this. I want to know all the secrets. I am so invested. This is a 3-book. This is a trilogy. So I'm just so into it. I loved it. Let me know what you guys think. Drop down in the comment section and let me know. Do you think he's really into her? Or do you think it could be an issue with trying to belong and wanting to be like the older brother and finding someone who's probably really similar to who his older brother is married to? Let me know. Drop down in the comment section and let me know. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available, and the links are available down in the description section. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.